Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on September the 6th of 2018. I'm Nick with Chris. And Chris, it's the start of Sadistic September.
Yes, so
But
I'm saying.
we're not ready for the actual Sadistic September review yet. So
Oh, I thought we were just doing that kind of thing all month. So I'm sitting on a 12-inch spiked dildo right now.
I was gonna say we need to do something to mark the occasion so that we get that prerequisite amount of suffering in each episode. You're gonna get that big old bombshell whenever we talk about the featured series, but we need to, I don't know. I broke. There's a crack in my phone screen now, so I think that I've suffered enough today.
Yeah, you've suffered enough.
I've got one of those protective screens over it, so I can't tell if that's the only thing that's cracked or if it's holding the screen beneath it together, and I'm afraid to find out.
I wouldn't explore it. I assume it's because I grew up super duper poor. I'm very protective of my stuff because when I was a kid, like I remember being at the beach and like an action figure, like I put an action figure into sand and I was like, it's dirty. So I put it in the sand and then a wave came and took it away. And I remember being like, my toy. And they're like, yeah, well, don't fucking leave your toys out at the beach. Like it gets sucked up. And I think maybe from then on, I'm very protective about my stuff. So I've yet to have a screen break on my phone, but it has always been a worry of mine.
I dropped it like 4 feet, and it fell on its back. But the camera seems to be fine, and the crack is only on the screen, which was on the opposite side that it fell on. And I can feel like the crack in the protective screen. So maybe if I peel it off, I don't know.
Nick, this feels like a bad plan.
I'm not going to do it during the show.
You're like, oh, it burns. I shredded my finger.
Oh, God, there were ants inside the screen.
Simulating a crack. And underneath that was a real crack.
Damn it. This is the worst of both worlds. A fake crack and a real crack.
If it helps, Nick, so I'm currently taking an anthropology class. It's a requirement. Not specifically this, but one in that sociology like spectrum.
Sure.
And I was like, I tried psychology, didn't dig it. So, I want to try this. You took a lot of anthropology, didn't you? You took a couple classes?
Anthropology is actually the bachelor's degree that I currently have.
Okay. So tell me if this was your experience with anthropology. So we skipped right over like the base of anthropology. This course just covers cultural anthropology.
Okay.
And it started with our teacher telling us how she's on her third marriage and her sister is trying to steal her inheritance. And she works at a local amusement park as security. And it's fine. She loves her job. She had to arrest a woman who was using counterfeit $100 bills and then watch her kids as her mother got arrested. But she loves her job. Is that what your initial experience with anthropology was?
My cultural anthropology professor, at least the first one that I took, was like in his early 30s or something like that, and was an academic. So he was paid well enough they didn't need to have a job doing security where they had to watch someone's kids if they're arrested.
It's such an odd... Right now, it has been one of the most uncomfortable classes I've ever taken.
Who tells their class that much about themselves?
It was weird because she tried to like wrap it all in with like, and that's why I love anthropology because this is really what it's all about. I'm like,
because I would just be normal in some cultures.
It's just like she's like, and some people are different. It's just, and I'd rather be happy than have money like my sister who took all of our inheritance money. Just like, wait, what's happening? And then we followed up by being like, yeah, and there's a lot of things. There's different cultural stuff. So Colin Kaepernick, what does everyone think about him? And it would just be like, oh, God, just bury myself in my hands. Like, I don't want this to be the class. Please don't let this be the class. I took it because I heard one of the finals was to make food. And it is. But before that,
you have to choose like an ethnic dish to make or something like that.
You had to make, it's like a cultural food fest essentially within our class. Everyone makes something and then you write like a little small paper on it.
I don't think that I can remember any professional athletes being brought up during many of my anthropology classes, so that might be a bad sign too.
I'm not looking forward to it because like she'll call and ask people too. She's like, "What do you think about Colin Kaepernick not standing for the American anthem?" And you have to understand, even though you might think like, well, millennials, college, maybe it's at least one a bit. Like it's Pennsylvania, which is commonly referred to as Pennsyltucky by a large part.
Right.
So it's like a furious fight between both sides in every class.
Right,
so, like,
right,
you're hearing
right.
people like argue. It's just like, I hate this. I want to die. Please kill me.
I just want my credit. Please let me leave.
I was like, I can't afford to drop another class because the teacher's weird.
One of the classes that I'm taking there's like a couple of 25-year-olds in the class, and then the rest are, like 19 to 20 or something like that. And so I'm like, I'd be the old man in the class if our professor wasn't 70 years old. So he keeps on talking about stuff. It's like, yo, you're a generation of like, no, not my generation. This is these kids over here.
I think we're still in the same generation at this point.
No.
Well, no, I guess they're technically Gen Yers if they're 19. No, if they're 19, they'd still be millennials.
So, but still, it's like, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So they're talking about stuff, and I'm like, you kids, God.
In my day, you get up your back, something quirks. You're like, I'll just lean over where you do it. Oh, thank God I brought this walking stick in. Anyway, when I was your age.
To give you a perfect representation of the difference there, we had to give presentations earlier this week, and one of them made references to Tide Pods, and I'm just like, oh my God.
And did they bring enough for the class to enjoy?
They did. He like brought one of those containers that's got like a gallon's worth of pods in it. It was like the visual that he had brought to represent part of his speech, and he basically used the Tide Pod and the colors of the Tide Pod in order to talk as like a symbol, a metaphor for the stuff that he was talking about. But he also, of course, just did it in order to grab people's attention and make them laugh. And like the entire class was like, "That was great!" And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And the professor was like, "Ugh."
The professor's just there. It's just Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. It's just like, damn Polacks in the classroom. Boom.
C minus. I don't know what grade he actually gave him. Anyway, we do have, speaking of classes, I think we might as well just dive right into My Hero Academia from there. We're going to talk about our manga this week, or to give us more time to read Flame of Record and prepare for that. So let's do it, Chris. Let's do the recap portion, weekly manga recap, and jump into My Hero Academia, a.k.a. Shinso's Hero Academia. Who is Deku? He doesn't show up in this chapter at all.
Fuck him. Don't need him.
Actually, it's again one of those little Shonen Jump things. The Shonen Jump reader lists Midoriya and All Might as the main characters, and I don't think that either of them makes an appearance in this chapter. Oh well. So last time we got to see Shinso's powers in action because he's using this special mask that has, what is it called? Vocal cords, whatever. Basically, it allows him to imitate other people so that he can speak in other people's voices, and it makes it easier for someone to reply to him and thus fall prey to his brainwashing. And we get an explanation at the start of this chapter via flashback where he was explaining it to his teammates from Class 1A. And it's actually a very interesting explanation where he basically just lays out all the limitations of how his quirk works. And from the sound of what he describes it doesn't sound like brainwashing or mind control at all.
It's Purple Man.
Yeah, it's you have to obey what he says. He can't make you think in any way. And it's actually more limited than the Purple Man's powers because he can't make you speak. So he even lays out a very perfect example because he's explaining it mostly to Suyu. He says, I could tell them, if I hold up a sign that has Suyu Asui written on it, I could say, here, write this down, and they would write it down. But if I say like, oh, what's her name? Write it down for me so I know it. I can't do that. So he can't use it to interrogate people, for example, or get anything out of them. He can only specifically control their body actions. So interesting set of limitations for that. And I think for something that has such a wide range as brainwashing and mind control, that's a very necessary thing when it comes to My Hero Academia, which is normally very particular about how everything works. Mm. So he's just used it on the giant hulking beast guy from Class 1B, Shishida, and he moves in to use the capture scarf that Aizawa uses, but the was it Suburaba, who can make solid air with his abilities, just immediately surrounds him in a box. He's like, nope, and then he just slaps Shishida, wake up, and that's it. Like, oh, Shinso's grand debut was pretty great, and then that ended very quickly.
Well, what are you gonna do? Can't win them all.
Yeah, because he can only use his power on one person at a time, apparently. Oh, no, I don't think he can. No, he was using it on his entire convoy team. So I think that he has to, like, individually target all of them, maybe.
Well, he mentions later that it's too difficult to use it on multiple people at once.
Okay.
That he could theoretically do it, but it's too demanding because he has to think about each and every one of them and what they can do.
Okay. Shishida moves in to crush the hell out of Shinso, but Kaminari gets in the way and uses his Thunderbolt quirk so that it'll paralyze him when he touches him. He knocks him into some debris, and that stuns Shishida, and Tsuyu grabs Subu, air cannon dude, off of his shoulders. And they're like, all right, now go and throw him in the prison. And Shishida is immediately moving after them. And I love Kaminari just like, but I shocked him! That's not fair!
Cheater!
Koda and Kirishima try to intercept him. They both get their quirks ready to Hulk themselves up, essentially. Koda specifically says, like, to I think a bunch of ants or something like that to lend him strength. Which we don't really get an explanation on because basically Shishida immediately takes them off guard because he shrinks back down into his default form and then goes back into beast mode and while they're surprised by it, and he just grabs Koda and throws Kirishima into the fucking sky. It's a very good throw. And Kirishima ends up landing basically where Shiozaki is, and she ties him up almost immediately. And then he just takes Koda and runs the hell away when Tsuyu tries to go after him. So this means that Class 1B has captured Koda and Kirishima. Tsuyu did manage to put Suburaba in their jail cell, so each of them has 3 members left, and Class 1B only needs to capture 2 of the remaining Class 1A members in order to win. We get a little bit where Suburaba is like, damn it, she captured me. I was surrounded by her tongue. Why are so many people at this school such massive perverts? That's in general.
It's a very strange thing to have, too. Like, yeah, like, it was like an indirect kiss. I'm like, I mean, I guess technically it doesn't feel like it would be, but I don't know.
I guess that I really shouldn't be so surprised. I mean, like, Tsuyu is one of the most popular characters in My Hero Academia. I'm sure that there are plenty of people who are just like, yeah, he's right. Lucky bastard. So everyone in Class 1A basically gets a breather because the 2 teams have separated after that skirmish. And everyone in Class A is like, well, they've sure gotten a lot stronger since the last time we had to tussle with any of them. It's a weird little joke because apparently Vlad King is doing commentary for the match.
I guess everyone else, like the other people watching.
He's got a microphone, and the PA system is loud enough that everyone in the arena can hear him. But it's like all the classes are right there.
It's not like there's an audience for this.
And Class A is very upset because he's giving very biased commentary. And they've somehow made up picket signs. They're very crafty people.
Yeah, Yorozu, dude.
Oh, yeah. I guess so. It would be a pretty easy thing to make, I guess. Just like cardboard that has writing on it. Sure. So we do get a little bit... Oh, there is Deku in this chapter. There he is.
There we go, Nick. It all makes sense.
Hey, he's in the panel. Deku observes, and everyone kind of takes a moment to analyze the skirmish that happened previously. And Deku's like, well, Shinso doesn't really have very good reaction speed yet. So, I mean... And he thinks to himself, that they're going to need to do some stuff in order to actually take advantage of his abilities. Kaminari is kind of panicking a little bit at this point, and Shinso is apologetic because he feels like he let them down because it wasn't quick enough with his capture scarf. And so he's like, no, it's all right. I put you on the front lines, and that was poor strategy on my part. And Kaminari says, like, hey, you actually helped me out. You saved me in that instance. And, you said you're not here to make friends, but yeah, you're good. I feel like I could be a fan of yours. And Shinju's just like, whatever. I've got to be the cool, detached one. It can't be Todoroki. He's too busy slurping soba over there.
It'd be great if he had like a giant bowl and he was just like, we're getting our shit busted.
Wow, they're getting their asses kicked. Oh, well. He goes out to fight in the arena battle. I was like, what's this? A long strand of soba. Ooh. Just leads him right into the cell.
They're like, high five, soba dude.
They've got a cardboard box propped up on a stick. We got him. Guys, let me out. Oh, well.
Yeah, he's like, I can finish the soba, right?
Class B, of course, is talking about their strategy too. And Suyu at this point has basically come up with an idea. We see her kind of like molting this weird slime off of herself. She tells Kaminari to locate his target. And the explanation that we get, because Kaminari was like, oh yeah, I forgot how that worked. He launched one of his electricity sniping targets, and it attached at some point to Shishida's pant leg. And he remembers that Hatsume had told him that the targets, they stick to whatever surface you shoot at, and the display in your glasses will always show you their position. So they can use this specifically to know exactly where Shishida is. Meanwhile, Suyu is sending out 2 shadow clones of herself, essentially. I didn't know that frogs could do this. But we see the real Suyu, and then these 2 slimy clone-looking things setting off. And it looks like Shiozaki is moving to intercept them.
I will say, I do like how they've actually added a good bit of personality to this cast. Like, I like how Beast Dude is just this overblown, like, super excited guy. But even when he switches back, he's like, human mode, as he, like, does it, like, mid-spin. But the one that I absolutely love is freaking the Vine Girl. I don't remember her ever having anything to say during that actual fight with Hatsume. But in this one, they've like given her like this deeply like almost like religious cult leader personality where she's just like, I shall teach them what it means to sin. Their brambles shall grab them from the heavens. Like, she just needs a giant beard and she could be Bray Wyatt. And I'm all about Bray Wyatt in this.
It's an appropriate thing because, she's got the vine hair. So it's like a crown of thorns sort of thing. And yeah, from what I remember, she was just this very earnest, easy to offend girl, because like during the school festival arc, she had to fight, and President Mike announced her as like the silent assassin of Class 1B or something like that, and she's like, "Excuse me, why are you calling me an assassin? That's not very heroic. I just want to be a good person and help people."
Now she comes in. She's like, my brothers, you have all wandered in, my fireflies. Wander into the fold.
Always good whenever we figure out what voice to give someone. They shall pay for their transgressions, and then I'll lose the match. You know, I was WWE champion, babe.
It was a solid month-long reign.
At least I wasn't Jinder Mahal or nothing.
I wish every one of his quotes ended with like, and you shall be brought to the bowels of hell, and then I shall lose the match.
And you shall be punished and feel great suffering, and then you'll pin me, but you shall suffer before that.
John Cena, I will bring you to the core of your character, and as you are about to turn, you will then overcome me and defeat me 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. We will have a rubber match.
Overcome by the Undertaker.
We will have a rubber match, and you shall win. But then I will crush Jabba talons until I am enough of a threat to challenge for that championship once again, which I will lose.
It's weird to me. If you think like over his entire career, like, because he's been around for like 4 WrestleManias, I think by this point.
Has he ever won?
No. The most success that he had was interfering in the Andre that Matt Hardy won. So his greatest success was basically cheating so that someone else could win. Yay!
Huzzah!
What an intimidating figure. He can't win the big one ever.
He lost to Undertaker, he lost to John Cena, he lost to Randy Orton. Yeah. And there's probably another one in there I'm forgetting.
No, I think that's been it. Because then the most recent one he helped Matt Hardy win. So anyway, enough about that. People are like, "Who's Bray Wyatt?"
Like, guys,
it doesn't matter, man. Now we got a new character to talk about.
It's all mine, my children. Just watch a wrestling compilation video, and
I shall turn you, Danny Bryan, to my side, and I shall actually defeat you, and then you'll win the world championship while I lose to someone else.
And I'm sure down the line you got your victory back.
I don't know if he ever did. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's move on to some more slightly less ridiculous combat related series. Food Wars, Shokiyaki no Soma. It's chapter 277, the second year's first semester finals. That's odd title, but oh well. So,
well, Nick, how am I going to know what this chapter is about? Is there something in an early page that could really give you a big clue what this series is about?
Well, if you look on the first page,
okay.
If you look at the single largest panel on the page,
okay,
the last one,
Clubhouse. Yep.
Okay, the bottom left corner of the page.
Okay.
You see, that's where the one named character on that page makes an appearance.
Yes.
Where we
what
see
am I looking at? What am I looking at there, Nick?
Well, we're of course
I'm an alien. I've never seen human culture before.
We have to realize now from this that something is amiss because American Flag Bikini Girl is not wearing an American flag bikini. Something's wrong here.
It's not even camouflage. Sometimes she'll do camouflage, and I'm like, camouflage is pretty American.
It's like tie-dye?
I think it's supposed to be like a zebra pattern kind of thing, like a dark zebra pattern.
Maybe like watermelon.
Maybe very watermelony. Yeah. Those are some pretty nice melons there, Nick. I
wonder what kind of dish they're preparing with them. Yeah. Anyway. I don't even remember if there are watermelons in this.
The last challenge of Totsuki Institute. You must serve one of your classmates to us. The most forbidden dish.
Yeah, let's not go there. That leads in that direction lies weird fan art. So the kids are on a beach, and the first thing that we see is Ikumi in a bikini. Serving empty mugs. Or I think that she was bussing the table and getting... Yeah, I think she was
bussing tables, I think.
Yeah. They're running a stand, obviously. And we get an explanation that several hours earlier, everyone was at the beach and everyone's like, yeah! And then Aaron was like, all right, stop that. You have to be tested. Essentially, everyone is being tasked, in the second year is being tasked with running this stand. And she says that, you have a quota to meet because, you're being given all this stuff. And, we've been allowed to rent these establishments. So we can't report poor sales. You must have a good showing for yourselves, earning enough so as not to embarrass the Totsuki name. Accordingly, the baseline quota for passing this exam is 1 million yen in sales per day, which is $10,000 a day.
Yeah.
That's pretty sizable. You have to be at least popular, basically. Like, if you say... Maybe she doesn't say profit, she just says sales. So at least you have to consider cost going into it. Well, I don't know, though. Like, if you order more food, does it have to be? It would have to just be sales.
I'd assume it would be sales. Like, that's the profits you guys that's what you need to pull in today. If we're going to let these restaurants essentially shut themselves down to be run by students, to be run by, teenagers instead.
Can you imagine if they were just like, they just have this thing where it's like it's actually a really good price, but they can sell a whole ton of it, and they're like, yeah, the profit margin on this stuff is negative. But you just said I had to have 1 million yen in sales. You didn't say I had to actually turn a profit. So, Erina doesn't have to take this test. And some random guy in a suit shows up and says, well, she's the dean of the institute, and she has other duties to fulfill.
My name's Frank! Why don't you remember me?
I'm always around in the background wearing sunglasses.
I'm very important. I have dreams, too.
And he does say that since Erina is technically a student, I guess, she did have to undergo a trial, but it was a different trial. The rite of the great boiling cauldron of death! Which, Ibusaki and Marui, I think that's his name, imagine as basically that one fight that Yuta in Toriko did, where, he plunged that dude into acid.
He survived, though.
He survived, yes.
Apparently.
Because the guy doesn't actually explain what it is. He just says that it's really hard. And so they imagine she's like cooking 4 different skillets while on like a balance beam above a boiling pot. I guess we're just never going to find out what she actually had to do.
Well, did they say that she actually already did it?
She already did it, yes. Oh, no, wait. Hang on. So
I don't think she did. I think they say that she's just going to have to do. They decided.
Well, Marui says, what a marvelous job of conveying how grand and heroic it must have been.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
So maybe she has, maybe she hasn't. I don't know. It's not
I guess who gives a fuck, too?
It doesn't matter. Let's go look at the girls in bikinis and the guys in trunks showing off that they have no nipples.
Hey, one of them's in a Speedo.
That's true. Kurokiba has no fear. Yeah.
He also, from what it looks like here, does not have a penis.
No, he does not seem to have one. He has tucked that one right up inside of himself.
He's just like, and just like sucks it in. Like, I don't think that's how that should work.
This is actually what happens whenever he goes into battle mode. Now I'm gonna kick your ass!
Let's do it!
So Soma isn't really concerned. Of
course he isn't. I love Soma.
And go ahead.
I was just saying, like, everyone else is just like, that's a lot of money there, and he's just like, money? What are you talking about? I'm just gonna make food. They're like, God damn it, you don't give a fuck about anything.
The second years who are on the council are hang out together, and they seem like everything's gonna be cool. It was like, all right, yeah, we'll make our quota, and then we can hang out on the beach. It'll be fine. And like Alice is already even preparing for them to hang out. She's got all these inflatables, Hayame and Kuriki were like, yeah, we'll just do this and we'll be done. And Soma's planning on finishing up so that he can make a recipe so that it'll impress Aaron and then he can challenge Suzuki. And then he's like, actually, I just thought of a great idea. Hey, Takumi, do you have a notepad? No. So he takes out his stick and starts writing it down in the sand. So everyone's like, oh, the council, they're so good, they'll be fine. And Aria's like, yeah, we know. So this is the beach house that you guys have to run. It's just this run-down fucking ramshackle place. And Soma says, it looks like an abandoned house. And Aria just says, it is an abandoned house.
So it's not even a fucking kitchen either. It's just a house.
I do love that exchange. That looks like an abandoned house. It is an abandoned house. And another guy in sunglasses. I'm Carl.
I hate Frank. See, there's deep lore between us. You should care about us.
Look, I can also rock a Speedo.
Ship us.
And he explains that, yeah, since you guys are on the council, you've got to be given a harsher test than the usual student body. And every year, the council is passed with flying colors. And we get a very small little flashback bubble of all of the third year council members, rushing to get stuff done. And so they're like, all right, you guys have to go start your freaking thing. And everyone sets out with working, and we cut around to a few different people. Hayame and Takumi and Megumi kind of go over like blueprints and plans together. There's like, we've got to just fix the place for the first 2 days, and then we'll have to just make all 3 million yen on the last day and catch up that way. And then we see Kurikiba and Soma trying to clear away junk and clutter, and I was like, okay, guys, keep it up. I'll tear you up from over here.
Let's go, team. Let's go, team.
Drag that wood. Drag that wood. I am helping a lot.
It's just like, it feels like there's something even if it's nothing physical at all, it feels like there's something you could be doing besides cheering us on. Like, could you at least be ordering equipment or something so when we need it, it's here or something?
Can you imagine if she was like, all right, I'll be supervising you guys. Move it. Okay, good. No, that's a bad place for it. Move it back. You know what? I changed my mind. Move it back.
She's like, I was thinking we could do like a chic little sashimi place, but then I decided, what's better than pizza? So get all the stuff out, move it out. We need to get back in there with some pizza, with some za.
You know what? Now that we're changing our menu, I think we need to start from scratch. Guys, move the clutter back into the hut.
Make it an abandoned house again. Let's start over.
Yeah. Suzuki randomly shows up in tourist wear, basically. And he's just there to bother Soma, essentially. He is like, I'll take 1 Ramoon, please. And Soma's like, we're not open. Don't be a buzzkill. Like, I don't have any food for you. But he says like, I'm gonna pass this test and then I'll get Nagiri to say my food is good and then I'll get a rematch. And Suzuki says, oh, are you sure you can take such a long view of things? Let me take off my sun hat so that I can be sinister for a moment. I can't look intimidating while I wear this ridiculous thing. And he just says, Erina will be leaving very soon, and she's going far away to somewhere even you can't reach.
In my mind, I keep hearing like that line from the first season of Daredevil, and someone's like, Madame Gau's like, she's like, I'm leaving. Like, where are you going? Back to China? She's like, no, somewhere much farther away. And wasn't it like she went to Singapore or something like that? You're just like, wait, what do you consider far away? Much farther away. She's like, somewhere much further. France. Like, I mean, when you consider going just in the shortest available route, it's much
I'm
quicker.
referring to a mystical plane. God!
Are we ever gonna get to hear about this mystical plane? Oh, you'll wish you hadn't.
There will be bones there, and you'll hear about a dragon that some guy punched, and then you won't even see him punch the dragon. You'll be like, what the fuck?
Gotta save something for season 2. The Return of Davos. That's coming out soon, too.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it would have to, because they've done season 2s of all the other series
They've already put out a trailer for it.
Oh.
I
haven't even watched season 2 of Jessica Jones. I've got so much of this stuff to watch.
Have you
and
done
I don't want to
Luke
watch
Cage?
more Iron Fist.
Have you done Luke Cage?
I haven't done. I've watched Daredevil season 1 and 2. I've watched Jessica Jones season 1. I've watched Luke Cage season 1, and I've watched Iron Fist and Defenders. I have not seen Jessica Jones or Luke Fist season 2.
I would highly recommend Luke Cage season 2. That is maybe.
Oh, and I've watched The Punisher.
And Iron Fist. Jessica Jones season 2 I think was really good, but Luke Cage season 2 has been my favorite Netflix series, I think, outside the first season of Daredevil at this point. It was stupidly good. Oh, wow. It actually comes out tomorrow.
Well.
There you go. Something to look forward to, Nick.
No. So, I'll get to it eventually. So, after Suzuki has that little sinister moment, which feels like kind of one of those things in like a Disney movie where like they're shitty just to the protagonist so that no one would believe how shitty they are. They're like, no, seriously, he was talking about like kidnapping Erina. Oh, come on, Soma. You just hate Suzuki and are obsessed with him. He's not really going to kidnap Erina. And meanwhile, Suzuki's like stuffing Erina into a duffel bag and throwing her over his shoulder.
And dumping into Yoshi's like, now who will cook for you? The sea! And you're just like, wow, this got really dark. So we're going to save her?
And shadowy figure shows up and taps Erina on the shoulder, and she recognizes him, or her, I guess it could be, and that's the end of the chapter. Probably not actually going to be as sinister a thing as Suzuki is making it out as.
I mean, it feels like at this point when he says, I'm taking her away, the only thing he seemed to indicate...
No. He doesn't say, I'm taking her away. He says, Erina will be leaving very soon. Which could very well just mean that she's been called back to the Institute and has shit to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could. They did mention, though, that the dean was supposed to oversee this specific challenge, so...
Yes.
I don't know. I just, in my mind, like, there's nothing really insidious to Suzuki yet beyond, like, I want to marry Erina. It's just like, cool. I mean, I guess she hasn't explicitly been like, get away from me yet. She seems like she's kind of into it in a certain extent in some situation. I don't know. It's weird, but it's weird to like go from like a zombie who would like sneak into your room while you're sleeping and just be like, I'm going to kill all your friends and send them away from the school. And by kill them, I mean their careers. And then he'd slink back out sort of thing. It's weird to just have a guy who's just like, I'm the same thing, but clearly a noble prince figure and like a theme. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit interesting, I guess.
Well, let's move on to Eden Zero, Chris.
Sure, why not? So, Eden Zero, Chapter 10.
Do you want a reason why not?
We're friends, aren't we? So, last time, Shiki...
Just because we're friends doesn't mean I want to cover every manga with you, Chris.
Yeah, that's... I mean, friends is such a strong word, too. Shiki encountered Sabir. They were having a fight. Shiki just crushed him. Just like Sabir was like, here comes my super awesome fist. And Shiki was like, fuck you. And just bam, just knocked him down. So this chapter starts back up with Sabir trying it again. And he can actually, like, his arm is like a rocket jetpack. So he can actually fly with it. And Sabir notes, he's like, huh, that's the gauntlet I made. And Sabir tries to punch him again. But, well, actually he does. And Shiki
does successfully punch him.
Shiki doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, whatever. You know what? Machines are living things too. They have hearts. And then he throws a giant concentrated ball of gravity at Sabir, sends him careening down into the ground. That weird bird that I don't know if we ever got a name for. It's evil and activates a button on the golem that grabs Shiki and tries to like crush him. And the bird even starts laughing maniacally, like, chip, 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 chip.
Which is actually pretty great.
It is. And then Pino activates her EMP dome and shuts off the robot. I guess also defeats the bird and knocks that out. And Sabir's like, how could you use scrap metal, little? And Pino's like, I am a living thing. I am not your toy. And Weiss holds a gun up to Sabir and says, you heard the droid. And he goes to fire the gun. But because of the EMP blast, the gun's useless. So instead, he punches the robot army made and completely destroys it. And there's a little moment.
Good craftsmanship there, Weiss.
Yeah, he's like, one punch to this area completely dismantles. It's called the failure punch. And I set one up in all my machines to make sure. Happy turned off, so he wakes back up and he's like, I stopped working again. Pina's like, yeah, sorry about that. And then she goes up and she apologized to Shiki because Shiki got hurt. And Shiki's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Hey, what about you? Are you okay? He didn't hurt you, did he? And she's like, how can you worry about a machine more than yourself? He's like, it's not about being a machine or whatever. We're friends, aren't we? And the robot starts crying again. I forget if they explained how the robot cries, but starts crying.
Oh, yeah, with their tear ducts, Chris, they have working ocular muscles and visual cortex, and like everything attached to their eyes is organic.
Oh shit! They're cyborgs.
Just an eye and brains floating inside of a metal shell.
This is hell. She just cries and says, yes, we are.
Every time I blink, metal scrapes against my eyeballs.
It hurts so much. Why did they program me with this? We cut away, and Rebecca's explaining. Apparently, these guys had a plan. We didn't get to that part. Sabir's gang had a plan that we never found out. They've already been
until now.
They were like, apparently, they were going to use the EMP blast to take the entire nation's supply of military robots. But we stopped it. Good job, guys. We found out they were doing that now, and we did it. We stopped them.
Yay!
So they even say the police arrested all of them, and there's this whole thing. So there's a moment where Happy's like, hey, Pino, why don't you come with us? Because you're from the same time as us, right? And they're like, oh, I mean, I guess my memory is deleted, but if I could see my master then. And they explain that Rebecca's like, yeah, your master's Weiss right there. It's the same person, just from the future. So she's like, oh, okay, cool. Then maybe if we go back to our time, then your memories will come back. And there's even a little moment of Pino being like, master! And Weiss is like, I'm not your master, fuck off. Get away from me. So they decide to go do that. But then the police show up, because they're like, and Rebecca's like, we don't need to worry about that. We didn't do anything illegal. And they're like, well, you don't have IDs, so you're going to be in some trouble for that. And Rebecca's like, let's get out of here. And there's a whole chase thing going on here. Weiss even gets he's like, well, see you later, time travelers. And they're like, that's Weiss. He's in Sabir's gang. Get him. And I gave him that voice because his exclamation as he leaves is like, smudge and blazes, why are they after me? What the fuck is smudge and blazes?
I don't know who it is that's doing the translation and adaptation of this series, but they really do love their British slang, don't they? Having Rebecca say duckies all the time, smudge and blazes.
Is smudge and blazes?
The various other things that Weiss says, honestly, because he said a few other weird exclamations as well.
Is smudge and blazes even a phrase? I've never... This could just be built like a brick shithouse where I'm like, that sounds stupid. There's no way the Brits say that, but maybe this is. I'll have to wait for our audience to give us some sort of feedback on that. Anyway, our heroes get back to the ship. They're flying away, but the police are still firing at them. And, even though their ship is technologically superior by, 500 years or 50 years rather, it's still not getting away. There's some kind of, energy field keeping them from escaping. And they're going to be stuck here and arrested if they don't do something. But that's when Weiss is, wow, you told me your ship was 50 years in the future, so I thought it'd be worth seeing, but this is just a pile of junk. I hope you didn't pay too much of this. And he's eating Peep. He's eating Pocky, but I'm trying to read its name, but he's covered up most of it. It looks maybe Peep or something. I don't know. And everyone's like, hey, Professor Weiss. He's like, yeah, I was going to steal your ship, but Anyways, let me have it, and I'll get it out into space. So I guess he's an expert pilot, along with his knowledge of everything else. So, to what I said before, I'm pretty sure Weiss is going to be like that third man of the group, sort of like the gray to this group's Natsu and Lucy kind of dynamic. But that seems to be the case. We're also getting Pino along. What did you think of the chapter, Nick?
It's a weird chapter because it's basically the climax of this first short little arc, and they deal with the final boss in like the first 6 pages, and then there's a whole lot left to go through, and they just move right on from that. The part that gets me that's weird is that this mysterious energy field, when they ran to the clouds and stopped, I thought it was going to be because like one of those columns of mineral was going to be pushing back on them, but apparently not.
That would be really creative world building coming up into a narrative purpose.
Which means that Hero wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, well, maybe I shouldn't go out of my way to say that, because maybe next week it comes into play. But if it doesn't, just note that there was a perfectly good opportunity to do something like that, and they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to explain like how the hell they actually came back into the past eventually, and I don't know. I get a very strong sense that like it's not going to be a very satisfactory explanation. So. Like
the mother being that sits on that asteroid is like, you need to go back in time to fix things. Something
but then you had a memory trapped inside you with the dragon, and you used to be around hundreds of years ago, but then anyway.
Here's your crying robot. I'll just note that I think this is the point I'm going to tap out early on this series and stop caring, because this arc really did feel exactly like a fairy tale arc, and it's just like, hey, we kind of quickly made a super bad guy who's super mean, and he's a jerk to everybody. He's just an asshole. But I cannot, like, even now, I have very little ability to tell you anything defining about the spear. I can tell you right now, he had a gauntlet arm. And that's it, just because he used it in this chapter.
He was mean to robots.
He was a jerk. Just a jerk to robots. 30 chapters from now, if you're like, tell me something about Sabir, I'd be like, who? And then you could be like, the boss in the first arc. I'd be like...
There was a first arc?
Not the Hans and Franz guys, right? The foot dudes.
I don't even remember Eden Zero's first arc. I just remember when they went to Fire Planet and fought with Flambell or whatever the hell his name was.
Well, that'll be what's coming up.
And what can you tell me about him? He had fire powers. Okay, what was his personality like? He liked to burn things.
And he was very mean to the ice people.
He was very...
He
acted like they weren't people, but Shiki thought that they could be friends too, and it didn't matter that they were.
That's the lesson on every fucking planet.
We just like write an Eden Zero plot, and you just pull a lever. It's like blank is mean to blank, but Shiki thinks that they could be friends.
He's like the knife people of
and
knife.
After the arc is over, the blank person blank becomes part of Shiki's group.
Hold on, random noun generator. So let's see what the next arc is going to be.
And Rebecca is fetishized via blank.
So in our next, according to the random noun generator, this is very scientific, guys. Our next arc is going to be the evil Booklet planet, and they don't like the Premeditation people. Shiki believes the Premeditation people can still be friends.
Whether or not you play out your murders ahead of time, that doesn't prevent us from being friends. I don't care how many people you plan to kill.
Those Booklet people were super mean to you.
They just... What the heck? Okay. Shiki is jailed by association with the Premeditation people. All right. Okay. We don't have any Boruto or Jump Starts to talk about this week, Chris, which means we're going to roll right into We Never Learn.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to write. All right. So We Never Learn. Chapter question 77. At times, a murky sensation waxes or wanes and settles in X. Very, very flowy and off the tongue. Mm-hmm. So we start off, and Haruka is practicing her English. She's got this like little key ring full of like flashcards that she's going through, and she's like, retain, Ichisaru, principal, Shonya, and, she's going through these things over and over again. And she's doing it with her classmates. And finally, the short-haired girl one's like, aren't you going to confess your feelings to Yuega? And the other one's like, what are you doing? It was really loud and blunt. She's just like, well, fuck. I mean, we all want to know, right? And Haruka just says, I think I won't. And we get like a quick reminder about like what's sort of the situation here, an offer to study abroad, and she needs to learn English. So we're going to see. So there's this whole moment of her like kind of walking off, and her two friends are thinking like, well, if she recites her feeling and he reciprocates, and then she gets into the study plan, then they're going to be separated really soon. So it's kind of a tough feeling. And, they're like, yeah, she's just choosing to kind of put the brakes on her own feelings for right now and keeping her distance. Although it's not really keeping their distance, because in the next panel, we see that the two of them meet, and they're like, "Hey, there's an open campus day at one of the universities." So they're like, "Hey, why don't we go check it out?" And I'm not sure. I guess Ottawa University is the one she's kind of looking at.
I can't recall.
I can't remember specifically. She points it out as like Ottawa University, and then there's like a thing that she looks at her key cards with. And yeah, I assume it is, but I'm not certain. Anyway,
well, you see,
he sees the key cards and he wants to try to ask her. Like, he's like, "Let me quiz you." And I do like it because she just keeps like pulling them away from his snap, like him trying to reach for them. And I guess this is their way of saying like she's okay being around him, but she doesn't want to actively study English with him right now because that would be too close. I don't know. I guess it's sort of just noting that she's a teenager complicated with feelings and is doing both things. I don't know. So they decide to actually go. And she shows up in like a full tracksuit, essentially, which is kind of funny because you get the impression she's trying to be as frumpy as possible in her own words. But Yuega's thinking back to Fumino, who's just like, it's the golden rule of sensitivity towards women. You be sure to compliment her outfit when you go out with her. And Yuega's like, you look great in everything you wear. And I like talking about it, just like gets that. She's like, you fucking dickhead.
I do kind of like that Haruka is trying to, not dress all flashy and impressive and stuff like that, but she apparently has no idea how to actually dress frumpy. Because she still looks freaking adorable like this.
Yeah.
It's like, God, you need to like borrow like an overcoat from your mom if you want to put him off or something like that.
So yeah, they're going through the whole thing. They're like, wow, all these places are so big. There's so much here. The schoolrooms are big. Wow, they have such great food in the cafeteria. It's so crazy. And there's a moment where he's like, oh, hey, it's pears. You want a slice of pear? You love them, right? And she's like, yeah, I do. And she's actually like reaching out to grab it and then slaps the air and like pushes herself backward. She's like, no, I don't like pears anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, you love pears. Normally you'd be gobbling them all up. She's like, I don't even like pears anymore. He's like, and I do like you. It's like, what are you talking about? You fucking love pears. What is this? And she's no, no, I don't want pears. So he's trying to he's like, eat the goddamn pear. And she's like, no. And all the other actual attending students are just like, what a lovely couple. They're so cute together. They're like, well, I'm sure it's hard now, but once you get your exams done, you guys can just bask in the love. And they're just like, we're not a couple. And they're like, that's weird. Why are you
sure you aren't?
Why are you trying to push pears in each other's face then? Because
we hate each other. I wouldn't wish pears on my worst enemy.
So Yuega has a brief moment when they're walking around and he thinks back to what she just said about after you finish doing all your studies, you could just bask your love together. And he has a brief momentary daydream where the two of them have gone to study at this university together, and they're kind of sitting out in the middle of a spring day. He's laying his head on her lap, and then he wakes up and he's like, why was I thinking something like that? No, it's impossible. I can't do that. Besides, Takamoto has something for somebody else. And that's the still running thing that Yuiga doesn't realize that she's his crush. He is her crush, rather. And they ride back. There's this whole thing there where they're like, oh, okay, well, guess we'll head back. We're on the subway. And I feel kind of awkward because I had that one thought. And then she gets really close. So close that the sound effect is whoosh. And then we get some weird shots.
Yeah.
And Yuiga has moments where he's thinking about how tight her body is to him right now. And he's like, I could feel her through her tracksuit. Which I'm like, clothing must be wrong in the We Never Learn universe. Like, that's what we're going to find out. Like, this is like a different Earth, essentially. And on this Earth, clothing has never been perfected. And it's constantly, like, failing to do everything it's intended for. We're going to find out pockets lead to nowhere.
Chris, she's been out in this set of clothing for too long. It's shrinking on her. It's trying to escape and vacuum up her butt.
And Yuiga's like, well, we're getting too close. Let's chill out. And then he realizes, like, oh, it's rush hour. So that's why she got really close, because she just had to kind of, like, squeeze in to make room. And she's actually just, like, diligently studying this entire time and hasn't paid any attention to it. So Yuiga's like, I'm a fucking slime. That's the chapter. It's sort of weird that I guess that's the joke the chapter ends on. I almost like assumed there was going to be a longer one. I guess there's also a minor thing where Takamoto's like, I got a cramp in my leg.
She's trying to maintain focus on her studying. So she's trying not to let this situation get to her, but it is clearly very difficult for her.
So she's like almost kind of pinching herself to keep her focus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get the impression that we're probably going to continue on with this plotline in the next chapter, because this is a direct continuation of the previous one, and also this seems like a very much not like a final note for this little story that's being told. I really like this chapter though, because we get this initial resolve from Haruka that, like, okay, I've set my heart on this dream of mine, and in order to do that, I should spare myself from getting my heart broken, basically. So, like her friends are saying, yeah, she was basically trying to put the brakes on her attachment to Yuiga and stay apart from him when she, this entire time, has been hoping that he'll feel for her the same way she does about him. And now that she has decided the opposite, the universe is sending her all of these chances right when she doesn't need them. So,
very tragic.
And that one picture of after, Yuiga's had his imagination of them sitting in the field together, that look on Haruka's face, I feel so bad for her. All right, let's move on from there to Dr. Stone. Z equals 72 experience points.
Okay.
And the series really loves its video game equivalents, doesn't it? Experience points, the you got or kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So Chrome has busted out of his prison by melting the bonds between the bars, and he immediately rushes out and takes out one of the guards as he runs out. And in the brief moment where he's running through the guards, he's like, "A bear just showed up in my cell!" And I was like, "Wait, what?"
I like that they're like, this genius move of his, learned by Gen, provided the one... Like, nobody believed that a bear had gotten in his cell, but for the single solitary half second they thought it could be real, he escaped.
And he freaking pole vaults across one of the pit traps. And he already knows where all of the traps are because he's been observing people's paths in order to safely traverse them. And so he just dashes through them. And everyone, of course, is taken completely off their guard because they thought that he was just this primitive idiot. Yo shows up, the warden, sees what the hell has happened, and he's like, well, how did he do this? With science? Chrome is getting away, and he's got a great chance here because all of the guards are being very careful to work their way around the traps because of the one guy who Yo got really pissed off at for screwing one of them up. And so essentially he's managed to turn their own weapon against them in this way, which is experience points that he got from his bitter encounter with Ukyo, who took advantage of the battery blast smokescreen. Ooh. But there's a problem with the whole everyone's too afraid to get through the traps because Yo will beat them up thing, which is that Yo's not afraid of himself beating himself up. So he just quickly dashes through them and immediately starts to gain on Chrome. He's apparently a really, really, really athletic guy. And he basically says he's going to beat Chrome to death because he doesn't want him to get free. And so Chrome quickly comes to a dead end over the same waterfall that he had been dropped down before, is forced to turn and fight. And Yo immediately just like dodges his first attack and just smacks him across the cheek. And he's like, they don't make him dumber than you. I've got modern day police training, so an ape with a bamboo stick doesn't stand a chance. Because as we all know, if there's one thing you've got to be prepared for when you join the police force, it is quarterstaff fighting. Seems like a very particular thing to train.
That's day 2, actually, is what they do.
All right, if your opponent comes at you with a stick, you use your stick, which is differently shaped.
You use your tonfa to take them out. Let's all play a couple rounds of Mortal Kombat X, all picking strikers, so you guys can see how this works. He has tonfa's one is his side fighting styles.
There are non-strikers in Mortal Kombat?
No, Striker.
I thought that they're all strikers.
Striker the character.
Oh,
the
right.
The cop no one likes.
With the electric baton, then yeah, nobody plays as him. Didn't they make him like a main character in that one cartoon or something?
I think so, because he's part of the Earth Defense Force. So he's supposed to be like a major character for Earth's characters, and then they put in like the side character. I say side characters. The main characters of the actual game, but like the characters that don't fit into like that group. He's dead in the well, he might be alive again. I haven't played the last one. He died in Mortal Kombat 10, though. The one that like rebooted everything. But then again, fucking everyone died in that except for... spoilers, Johnny Cage and Sonya, I think, are the only two who live. And I think Raiden. Everyone... Liu Kang gets fucking electrified to death by Raiden, who's just like, no, I saw in my vision that we need to let Shao Kahn win the Mortal Kombat. Like, he just went ballistic, thinking fate was perfect. And Liu Kang's like, fuck you and your stupid ass riddle. And then the Raiden just electrocutes him. It's so brutal.
In the next game, they're like, and introducing Shmoo Kang, Flub Zero.
Sub-Zero, I think, survives. I don't think he's around for the final fight. I don't remember. But basically, everyone else and their fucking mom gets murdered in that game, though. It's brutal. All right.
Florpian.
Shmub-Zero.
Clax.
Reptile. They just added an extra syllable.
Lamo. All right. So, Yo gives Chrome one final chance. Just get back in your cell, or I'm going to throw your corpse back into it. And Chrome says, well, it doesn't make much difference to me because I've only got a few days left to live anyway. And all of a sudden he buckles over and spews blood out of his mouth. And Yo is like, there's no way the cut inside of his mouth caused that much blood. Is he vomiting it up? And Crow says, it spread through the village. I didn't say anything. Didn't want anyone worrying. But I'm a goner. It's pneumonia. And for you guys, without science, it's a death sentence. And Yo's briefly like, ah! And then frickin' Chrome spews the blood into his fucking face. And then Chrome says, now eat this. The one move I trained over and over. The fruits of my experience points. And he stabs Yo in the balls with his staff.
I love that callback. That was the one move he trained for that tournament with over and over again.
Chrome does with the back-to-back wrestling heel moves here. The green mist and the low blow. What a heel. And then he just kind of casually runs off. And shortly enough, Kohaku, who is spying on the enemy, spots him coming down the path and brings him back to the kingdom of science. And the happiest person to see him is not any of his friends, not Senku, but Kaseki, who's just like, "No, my precious steam gorilla doesn't have to be sacrificed!"
I fucking love Koseku. He's like hugging it. He's like, "My precious steam gorilla."
Oh, God. So Senku is like, "Hey, what's with the blood around your mouth?" He's worried for his friend. And Kroger's like, and Ruri, of course, is distraught. She's like, "Oh no, is he sick too?" And Senku looks over at the puddle of blood that he spewed. Like, "Ah, ha, ha. Oh, you asshole!" And he realizes that he basically combined plants together, and he created this red liquid that he put inside of his mouth in order to use for this trick, which basically is similar to plums pickled in shiso, which I will take the manga's word for because pickled plums aren't exactly popular over here. But yeah, pickled plum juice. That is what Chrome spat out in order to freak out Yo.
Gross. I like this chapter. I mean, it's nice. You know, Chrome saved himself. I like that his knowledge of different characters kind of helped him out here. You know, thinking about Gen's psychology helped him get that moment he needed to kind of get his like early escape advantage. Knowing Sueka kind of helped him figure out the path to take back home. Like it's nice to get cool little details in that to add to the whole overall experience. And I'm also kind of glad that Chrome didn't have to sit there and be rescued. That like they figured something else out, and now we can kind of approach it from a different angle.
This is the kind of thing that I wish that series like Food Wars and Black Clover would do more, where they have this basically sidekick character get a chance to show that they're learning from the experiences of people who are more skilled and talented than them in order to get their own little victory over a minor character. And I wish that it would happen more with some of the characters that I like that haven't gotten a spotlight.
Definitely.
All right. Speaking of side characters, let's move over to all the side characters fight in one battle chapter of Seven Deadly Sins.
Yep, chapter 280, Collapse. And we have our cover page with Hellbrom and Oslo and the previous Fairy King, whose name is included in this chapter, but I don't remember it. Basically,
we all died to help you.
Yeah. So there's a whole little thing there, and we see this big explosion as Oslo took that shot, and his corpse falls from the sky and lands on the ground. And everyone's like, "Oh, Oslo!" And like King's cradling Oslo's corpse, be like, "Why would you do this? This isn't what I wanted." But fucking Mail
and Oslo's like, "Throw ball,
catch ball." And fucking Mail has no chill and immediately starts attacking them again.
Anyway.
And there's a moment when they're going to be like, shit, we're going to be like obliterated. Because remember, King and Diane right now don't have magic. They still have been sealed off by that magic spell. But in that moment, we see that Diane got her magic back just enough to summon her hammer. And she notes that one of her Sacred Treasure's property is Lightning Rod, that it can redirect magical attacks straight to the ground. And I do like this because Hawk comes up and is like, "Hey, why didn't you use this before?" And Elizabeth explains, she's like, because if she did that, she'd run all the magic into the ground, and that would hurt the lives of everyone who live inside the ground itself. And Diane's like, yeah, and, I figured it wouldn't matter on a man-made floating island like this. There's nothing really in here. But she's like, if I take another attack, then this thing's going to fall apart. And I like how they don't bury lead. She immediately takes another attack and breaks the fucking ground. So everybody is falling. There's this big thing. Elizabeth grabs onto Diana, and we see Hawk going after King, and he's turned into like I guess a wyvern.
The same flying manta thing that he carried them on when they were going to catch up with Elizabeth.
Yeah. So Hawk's going after him, but Hawk
it's
can't.
It's my time to shine. And then
Hawk time.
And then he doesn't save King.
Not at all. There's too much debris and smoke and everything like that. It's too hard to see where King is. So King's just plummeting, and he's thinking to himself, "Wow, I can't believe the King of Fairies is gonna die by falling from the sky. What a pathetic ending." And there's this big montage of all of his things, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Captain, I couldn't protect Elizabeth." And let's see Melodious being like, "You're an upstanding king." He's like, no,
I'm not.
It's a really long, big pity party where like Oslo and Halbram are like, "Hey, you better do better. We all like you." He's like, "Hey, you protected me so many times. I never protected you once." And then the previous king's like, "You've only just sprouted your wings, but you're just as skilled with the spear as I am. So I think very highly of you. You gave me too much credit. You shouldn't have thought of me at all." But then there's one big panel of Diane saying, "I always loved you and always will, King. Will you still love me?" And that scene enough is to kind of kick King out of his pity party, where he's like, "Yeah, this isn't right. You did make a promise to her, and I promised that this time I'd protect her until the very end. So show her you're a man, Harlequin. Now is the moment to show your kingly dignity and presence." And we see the little scar start getting covered up with something breaking. And there's this big moment. Diane's kind of hanging there, and she's like, "We're not that far from the ground. Just drop me. I'll be fine. Go save King, Elizabeth." And she's like, "Hey, I can't do that." And then they see Mael is right behind Elizabeth, reaching out for this big attack, when out of nowhere, a big like shooting star blast knocks Mael away. And you see somebody saying to them, "You two should be all right now. I'll take care of the rest." And Diane's like, "King, is that you? You look different." And the one reminder of the previous king's like, "Yes, when your wings have fully grown to their full size, you might become the strongest fairy king the world has ever seen." And we see King, but in his true form, with these enormous, butterfly-like wings that, in addition to sprouting, also, I believe, caused his hair to shoot forward into like a new wave 80s fringe for some reason.
It is the stupidest hair. I love that we get, show them your kingly dignity and presence.
In the end, it doesn't even matter. I don't know. Like, it's such a weird haircut.
So Chris, now we see that King in this form, would you say that he has graduated into a true fairy king? Now, how do you mark an occasion of such a graduation? By playing Pompadour and Circumstance.
Fuck, that was a long setup for that.
It's such a stupid haircut.
Very well is. I appreciate the effort you went to get to that. I still like this chapter a lot, though. It's kind of cool to see King in this big new form. It's been something that's kind of been teased, I guess, for the longest time of like, we haven't seen him at his full power, and now he is. So is, I guess, this form enough to defeat Mael altogether? I assume it is. He seems pretty confident. Dragon Ball Z has conditioned me to be like, he's going to get a shit pushed in. We need to wait for Melodious to show up somehow. But who knows? It very well could happen. But I do like this little arc. I do like a little montage of his character arc of thinking about all the different characters. And I guess it has always been one of King's bigger weaknesses, is his lack of self-confidence in these situations. So it's nice to see that it wasn't like he needed Diane to like shout out for him. Instead, he just thought back to her, and the mere thought of her was enough to like kind of break him out of that funk.
It's always nice in Seven Deadly Sins because the characters do not shy away from their romantic feelings for each other. And it's different from a lot of their shonen action series in that respect, where like, yeah, they love each other and they're motivated by it and they use it and they gain strength from that instead of just being like, I kind of like her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything about it for another 50 chapters, but I kind of like her.
Like, we just have like a canon couple in the shonen battle series, and it's pretty cool.
All right, let's move on to The Promised Neverland. It's chapter 101. Come. So, they're at Kuvitidala, double-decker Stonehenge, basically. Yeah, mentioned like it's supposed to be a town of dragons, according to the ancient manuscript. They discuss if there are going to be dragons. Like, well, maybe, because there are demons, so I guess there could be dragons. Hey, there's an arrow on this stone. Search for day and night with the eye of the dragon. What's going on here? Nothing really happens for a while until Emma happens to touch a stone that's got this inscription of an eye on it. And all of a sudden, she has this vision of herself standing on a pond of water, and there's a dragon fucking flying beneath the surface of the water. Oh, okay. This very boring chapter suddenly became very interesting. And that dragon has a weird fucking eye. It's got comets spinning around in it. Also, Emma has the eye of the dragon in her eye, apparently.
It's the eye of the dragon. It's the thrill of the fight. Rising up to not get eaten by the demons.
Anyway, Emma sees this vision of the first promise, seemingly, between the demons and humans. And as she's experiencing this while kind of just floating through this ethereal plane upside down, she is addressed by what seems to be a small demon, basically like the size of a child. It's got this very strange appearance, this big giant eye in the center of its head. Oh, and also it's got a pet dragon, seemingly. And the strange being just says that you're currently just watching right now. You need to come properly next time from the entrance. Here there is nothing, but you can find anything. There is no entrance anywhere, but it's also everywhere.
Hold on, Nick. I think I know the voice you do for this character. There's nothing here, but you can find everything. There's no entrance anywhere, but it is also everywhere. Come back next time, and I will go down for the 3 count for you.
Did you just say that because there are floaty, glowy things surrounding you? Like, look at my fireflies, Emma. You can join them.
It's just that obnoxiously cryptic speak that, like, why it always
Once you hear 20 of my promos, you will realize I eventually don't actually have anything to say.
We are all sheep. Part of the flock. But where's the wolf? We are all the wolf. You're like, wait, what?
Let me tell you something, man.
Eventually, you're just like, can Randy Orton come out and RKO this guy already? God damn it.
You're a snake. And there are many different things you can say about a snake because there's so much lore to draw upon. And I cannot actually tie it back into actual events. But it will sound cryptic and mysterious and biblical. And that will make it sound like I'm much more interesting than I actually am before I lose.
Randy Orton, you are the Viper. I am the Mongoose. And just like how history has taught us, you will defeat me in the ring at WrestleMania.
Mongooses, which are famed for destroying and killing and hunting snakes. Which is why I, the mongoose, will lose to you.
We'll take the pinfall clean as the day is long. Maybe in embarrassing fashion.
I have a question for you, Randy Orton. Why did you join my death cult for like 4 months just to RKO me? You could have just done that before. Didn't you say you weren't gonna find me at WrestleMania? And then you did? Why?
Regardless, I will be defeated by you. He needs to finish all of his promos.
Man, you burned down my house!
My house of horrors! We had a whole match there. Well, half a match there.
No, he burned down the Wyatt family compound.
That's right.
But then there was also the House of Horrors, which he apparently also had access to. I'm a real estate investor, Randy Orton. And you could have had a real estate license just like me.
Bray Wyatt is one of the characters in WWE with the most lore, and none of it matters. He has like families, he has compounds, he has a sister
who taught me the way, and apparently she is also a ghost who possessed me. But then I got sick, so I couldn't be her in my match with Finn Balor.
So I couldn't come out in shitty makeup and lose in front of Finn Balor at the pay-per-view.
It would have been great. Would have worn a sheet over myself and said spooky things with a voice modulator.
Okay, I guess we should probably just be
anyway,
on a podcast again.
The tiny demon thing, after saying all this to Emma, before Emma can ask it any question, just says, then we can play. And Emma falls back into reality, apparently. And she's been in a trance, passed out on the ground this whole time. And right when she comes to is when Violet goes, stab her! And slaps her across the face. And Emma's just like, did you see it? Did you see the dragon? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? So Emma runs around. She ends up climbing up onto a high vantage point. And she realizes that the double-decker Stonehenge actually forms the shape of an eye. And when Bray climbs up, he's like, oh my god, it's the eye! I figured it out before you did, Emma. Shut up!
Everybody shut up, I figured out the answer.
It's an eye. It all forms an eye. That's not what Emma was going to say, but I said it. Emma says that, it's like, I saw, the dragon and scenes from the past, the old Kuvitidala, the place where day and night were together, and also, I think I met too. Then she, takes a look at the pendant that she has, and is like, oh, this looks similar to the ruins, but what does all this mean? All this lore, all this stuff, the Eye of the Dragon. Maybe this is a place where you could use it to access that place where day and night are one, but now no one can see anything. But I could do it, maybe because I had this pendant. And maybe it was because maybe Mr. Miniver couldn't reach the 7 walls because this place couldn't be used anymore. I don't know. And then Emma's like, Ray, can you hear me out? And Ray's like, what? Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. And then apparently after telling Ray everything, they tell the rest of them everything. Whatever. And it explains everything that she just thought of to them, I guess. And everyone was like, what should we do? I was like, well, maybe we could figure everything out, including the riddle of the directions as well. Anyway, let's go home. And essentially Emma just reestablishes what she has to do in her mind. We have to hurry. Especially because with the amount of time that they've been spending traveling, they're essentially going to have a year and a half left in order to save everyone before their time runs out and everyone who was left behind starts graduating and being taken away to be eaten by demons. Meanwhile, as she and the rest of them walk away, they're being observed by the tiny demon and the dragon. And the tiny demon is just going, come to me!
Follow me into the darkness so that I may be your light. And if you want to submit me, I will tap out. Apparently, that's the thing I will do.
By the way, if you do try to step to me, I'll show creepy images of bugs to you.
And then you can pin me.
And then you can pin me after your finishing move.
I'll scare you.
Maybe I should have tried to do that while you were distracted by the bugs. But no, that would have just been rude, man.
The bugs will scar you for life. A pinfall is 3 seconds, but you will never forget when I turned the ring top into roaches. Oh, wait, you're the champion now? I suppose that has far more permanence than my bug move. Damn. It is worth noting that this has been announced. We're heading into the final arc of the Promised Neverland now.
That was quick.
Yeah, we're pretty quickly approaching. I don't know how long the end of this will be actually coming up because it seems like there's still a lot to get into. There's still a lot to kind of find out about. But we are, I guess, probably closer to the end of the Promised Neverland at this point than we are to the beginning of it. So it's worth keeping that in mind.
Yes. Yeah. So that done, we are going to move on now to Black Clover. If you will take over,
when
Chris.
I can find the page number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Page 171, The Sleeping Lion. So last time, we cut around to a bunch of different things. There was the whole... And the purple orcas did something. It was a very impactful chapter. So the end of it, though, showed the vice captain of the Crimson Lions had been turned elfed, and Fuego Leon was trying to defend against him. So it starts up with that as Fuego Leon's like, hey, or not Fuego
Leon,
Leo, whatever, Fire Leo, whatever his stupid full name is. Leo is like, hey, we're the ultimate. We're trained. Yeah, you're a jerk. And, God, what is this guy's name?
Was it like Raphael or something?
I can't remember. And
it began with an R.
And the description just stops with, like, Asta got a sword that could defeat everybody. Like, that's the previously in Black Clover ending, is like, Asta's gonna save everyone. I'm like, that doesn't help me this time. Whatever.
Also, that was like 2 months ago.
Whatever. Goatee guy is like... Gautier is what I'm going to call him for some reason. He's like...
I'll look it up while you're going through it.
He's like, this place is flooded with my mana. You couldn't even use magic properly here.
I'm also Bray Wyatt.
I'm also Bray Wyatt, my children. Come with my explosive air palm magic, and you can beat me afterwards. I'll look good in this arc. Randall. So Randall is pretty strong.
Better, but Randall.
All the different members of the Crimson Lions are trying to fight back. They're like, yeah, let's show them the pride of the Crimson Lions. And they all throw their different stuff. One of them throws like a rocket launcher. It looks like he grabs it almost looks like he throws a suitcase that has a jetpack at the end of it that fires out. Like, you can see how someone's like throwing wind. It looks like somebody's throwing rocks and like a big fireball. But one dude just looks like he hurls a fucking suitcase or something and fire shoots out. What's that dude's magic? I want to know. But Raphael dodges it completely by like air palming it back. Randall, whatever. It's such a lame name.
Ray. Robert.
So Ricochet says, no, they're like, hey, it's his air magic. He can launch himself off thin air. He can move freely within space and attack with invisible masses of air. So he's basically like creating explosive air bombs that he's using it to blast everybody and all their magic. And he basically takes out all of them. And we see Leo's kind of the only one left, and he's fighting against it. He actually manages to cast a spell, which Randall's like, very good. You managed to cast a spell. Bravo. And then he counters it. He just blocks it away. He keeps firing, but Leo's, I guess, a little bit stronger than everybody else, so he's able to dodge an attack. But that's when all the other members of the Crimson Lion get back up, and they're like, hey, you know what? That's a royal for you. He's really strong, so one day you'll command this brigade, so take everybody who can't fight, get out of here, and you survive. We'll sacrifice ourselves here. And Leo's like, no, I can still fight alongside you. I'll figure something out. We'll survive this together. And he goes, but nothing left in the tank. Just drops. He's like, my body just hit its limit. And Randall just knocks everybody else away with air blasts. And he's like, so you command this group? Well, sorry, but I'm cutting you down here. Humans, and particularly royals, should all die violent deaths. And then all of a sudden, there's this big effect going on. We see it from it starts from the sky, then closes in on the building, then closes in on the bed, and suddenly the entire Crimson Lion base is engulfed with flame mana. And we see reinforcements. No! Only one. Fuego Leon has recovered. And he comes out.
Holy shit. He looks so cool.
He comes out. His arm is pure molten fire itself, it looks like. His grimoire is floating alongside him. He says, you fought well, Leo, but you still have a ways to go. I'll take it from here as the captain of the Crimson Lion Kings and your older brother. I will never lose again. And Randall particularly notes that he has Salamander, the great spirit of fire, on his side.
What a fucking return! He looks so cool. Like I can't really complain about this chapter. One of the characters that we've been missing for a while has come back, and he hasn't really done anything yet except just show up to be like, I'm going to save all of you. But he's got an arm made of fire, and there's a dragon made of fire sitting on his arm made of fire. So, can't really complain about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We did see Salamander a while back. I think Fiona or Fauna, whatever her name was, had it. So perhaps it left her to go to Fuego. Maybe it only went to her because Fuego Leon was unconscious. And then came back once he came back. I don't know. It would make more sense. Like, the strongest fire mage in all the Clover Kingdom having the fire dragon would make a little bit more sense than Fauna herself. But yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, it's a pretty cool sort of like end to the chapter kind of thing. I do love that quasi like 1 3/4 page spread of him just walking out and his arms on fire and like the other one's like ripping up towards his like neck. It's pretty dope. And I do like how this chapter kind of fit everything together. I wish there was a little bit more like necessity to Fuego Leon coming back, or like more of an awakening. Like, it feels like he's back and I'm like, fuck yeah. But it's like, I wasn't really at that point where I was like, God, who's gonna save our heroes?
The Clover Kingdom has suffered no losses, and they have a sword that undoes everything. How will they ever win without Fuego Leon? Ah, he's back!
Yeah, God, Fuego Leon!
That being said, I do actually really like the way that Randall, possessed Randall, easily dispatches everyone. I also like that they make sure to firmly establish why his power is different from Yuno's. He's got a different fighting style, and there is a kind of more intricacy to it.
He's almost like a martial artist. Like, all of his poses are very like Kempo style,
yeah,
or some kind of like, you know, martial arts pose with it.
And they show a little bit of potential in Leo, but yeah, he's just not nearly strong enough to deal with this guy. And yeah, here's Fuego Leon up to freaking kill him.
Is it sad that I'm like, Fuego Leon's back? Do we really need Leo anymore? Get like him and Mario Leona just head off now. We got the cool one back. We got Fuego Leon. He's the only one I cared about. The other ones could disappear, right? They only came in because Fuego Leon was injured.
All right. So yeah, a good chapter of Black Clover. There you go.
There you go.
Let's move on to One Piece. It's chapter 916.
Jesus, this series is long.
Wano Sumo is the title of the chapter, and last time, Urashima, the giant sumo, who was weird, he kind of wanted to marry Okiku, and Okiku was very upset with him, so she cut off his top knot. In this chapter, Urashima is incredibly upset about this and goes to fucking splat her. And Okiku suddenly flips back from the determined warrior woman to basically being very embarrassed over what she's done, and she begs for mercy. And basically just expresses mild disapproval of the fact that he's going to kill her. It's an odd thing going on with her, and it's kind of hard to get a grip on what's her character is. It seems as though she's this naturally timid person who will go into action if she's really seriously pushed into a corner. Because, you know, we've seen her, like, for example, hide behind Zoro in the previous chapter, but then when she got really annoyed with him, she cut off Urashima's top knot. It's just a little bit weird to see her then go back to how she was before.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's thankfully different, and I will note that my biggest like plus in the favor of Okiku is she's the only one right now of like these recent series of like female side characters who have prominent roles in this arc and probably nothing else that doesn't look like some kind of copy of Nami. Like, I don't look at her and I'm like, oh, it's Wano Nami or whatever. Like, it's actually someone with a different design. I just feel like she's gonna serve the same sort of role as Rebecca or Shirahoshi, where it's like she'll be significant to the plot, but she won't actively do anything that significant to its ending. She may, because I guess Cryos had a decent-sized role in Dressrosa, and he had that because he was actually like the gladiator kind of thing, so maybe he will, but... maybe she will have that similar kind of thing, but it's hard to get super invested. There's so many fucking characters in One Piece at this point. And in this arc in particular, we already know that like 4 of the supernovas are here. So it's tough to be like, yeah, all the supernovas will be huge characters in this. And all the Straw Hats are here too. And, you know, who knows? Maybe fucking like his armada will show up too. And different characters from there will pop in. I don't know.
There's also a bunch of other characters that are important to this arc that we haven't even seen show up yet. Like the current shogun, like this thief that is apparently rebelling against him. So it's really hard to see where this is going to go at this point. Luffy, as Urashima is going to crush her, immediately dashes in and uses his Gum Gum powers to deliver a countering sumo slap, which causes the two of them to kind of rebound off of each other. And both of them nearly skid out of the ring. And yeah, they're going to have a sumo match. Because Urishima's like, she has cut off my top knot. I've lost my honor. Honor demands that I fucking kill her, basically. And Luffy just says like, you can do whatever the hell you want if you can beat me. Let's sumo! But watch out, I'm good at sumo. And we get this little introductory info panel, which is Sumo wannabe pirate, Luffy no Umi. Record, undefeated versus Usopp.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You just imagine, like, occasionally on the frickin' Thousand Sunny, he's just like, hey, Usopp, let's sumo again! He just locks him in a headlock and throws him into the ground. I win again!
Undefeated.
And Chopper's like, yay, Luffy! Anyway, Urashima launches a barrage of slaps at Luffy, and Luffy just kind of dances around them. So he resorts to cheating by trying to box his ears and gouge out Luffy's eyes, which I don't know how that would work because his fingers are literally larger than Luffy's head.
It'd be like the Mountain and the Viper.
What?
From Game of Thrones.
Oh, right. Well, but Urashima's trying to cheat by gouging his eyes.
Well, I just think he put his fingers in there and just exploded them that way, I guess.
Right. Just crush his skull via eye pressing. Luffy starts to prepare a giant freaking Gum Gum attack. And we cut over to Hold'em's palace, where he has made good on his threat to try and rip off Okiku's cheek. Or Otama's cheek, rather. Ow!
It looks pretty painful.
It was really bad. He's clearly hurting her.
He's a jerk person.
He says, Otama basically begs for mercy. He's like, I heard you say the name Kozuki before. The Kozukis are the ones who tried to destroy Wano 20 years ago. They're a clan of evil spirits. Ooh. We cut around a couple of times then. Beppo apparently ate some poison fish. Oops.
I like that it's like all this dramatic stuff happening at once. So it's like Hold'em's like torturing Otama. Luffy's preparing this giant attack. We see in the next panel Hawkins is riding in because he's like, none of you could deal with like Straw Hat Luffy. Just leave him be. I'm on my way. And like to add to the drama of this scene, Beppu's like, I ate a bad fish. I ate a bad fish. And Law's like, why now? You fucking... There's so much happening.
God damn it, I'm busy, Beppo. Oh, God. I do like the visual that we get as Luffy stretches his hand back there. Everyone's like, what the hell is that thing just going over their heads as he grows his arm out? Urashima continues to object to Luffy protecting Okiku. It's like, oh, she's done this unforgivable thing. I must crack her head open and make an example of her. And Luffy says, I said you can do whatever you want, but you're just not going to be able to beat me. And Urashima's like, I'm the greatest sumo wrestler in all of... Well, I'm going to be king of the pirates. And he just fucking creams Urashima with this giant palm strike.
It is a super cool panel. Like, it's like the actual like impact of it looks so brutal with that giant hand.
Knocks some of his teeth out, flattens his face, and even Okiku's like, oh God! And he just blows him away and knocks him into Hold'em's building. So people were like, oh my God, how the hell did he lose to that guy? Hey, wait a minute, that's the guy who sliced up the magistrate, Sonojiro! And Zoro was just immediately like, yeah, so what? I can't believe that Zorojiro, there's someone who is actually worse at keeping their cover than him. Because he had to, like, cover for Luffy in the previous chapter. And I'm like, really? Because it seems like he doesn't care about staying undercover. And they're like, okay, yeah, go get the boss of this town, because we're going to take Osama back. Guards rush in order to attack them. And, of course, Luffy and Zoro immediately start fighting. Okiku acts timid again, and Zoro's like, you don't need my freaking help. And Luffy says, come on, fight, because we have to save the kid. And
I do love it, because she goes with like, what should this one do? He's like, shut up, you don't need my help. And you see her like have this moment where like her lips have like sucked in, and she's like, oh right.
I'm a master swordswoman.
She's like, I'm a murder machine if I want to be.
And yeah, she starts fucking cutting up dudes with her goddamn sword. Obviously, no one can freaking stand up against them. And Luffy grabs one of them and says, hey, what's your boss's name? And he's like, all right, get out here, Bull-to-Boo. And Hold'em comes out, stand on a freaking roof. He's got Otama held in his stomach lion head. What a visual.
I love that everyone seems to have the same excuse, like thought too, because then like we get a couple panels later where Luffy's like, his tummy's a lion. Like every character is gonna be like, his tummy's a lion.
Everyone's acting really serious. Okiku says, oh my God, Otama! And Hold'em's like, Urashima came flying and demolished my building. Who are you? Where'd you come from? If you're bold enough to fight back against us, I assume you must be followers of the thief Shutenmaru. It sounds like you want this kid back, but don't move! I can crush her in my jaws at any moment. Big bro! His tummy's a lion. And then we get one final quick little montage of people's reactions to what's going on at this very moment. Law is rushing to try and make it to Bakura Town. Luffy is saying, I'm going to save you, Otama. And Hold'em's like, I'm not giving her back, you fool. And Hawkins is like...
Well, it's worth knowing they say Captain Hawkins is at the gate. And that's what Law is approaching. So it looks like Law and Hawkins are going to face off.
Entirely possible.
Two of the biggest supernovas.
And unfortunately, we're not going to get that for another couple of weeks. One Piece is going on another break. But it's a pretty good way to kind of leave us off in this tense situation.
I think it's sometimes hard to tell with the manga at times, but I think this is a chapter that's meant to really be like, hey, the pace here is really fast and frantic and dramatic, which is why I love so much that like one of the scenes they get of all this crazy stuff happening is Beppo being like, I ate poison fish! And Law's like, are you fucking kidding me now?
I told you not to do that specifically!
And like in the big scenes where everyone's like looking forward into like the upcoming conflicts, in the background, Law's like Hawkins, and you hear the back, "Please don't leave me to die, Captain." It's just like that stupid bear.
Oh man,
I like this chapter a lot. It's fun. It feels like we really are in like the early stages of a big arc with a lot of areas. Like it feels like Bakura Town's not going to be that significant to the grand scheme of things. Like we're not in that opening area we saw when the start of this arc happened, like that giant tree town village with the huge bridge. Like we're nowhere near that. We're gonna get to that point later when the climax of this arc happens. But right now we're in like a side area almost, kind of like think back to like the casino from Alabasta. Like it's a small pit stop along the way, and Oda's done a good job of kind of like minimizing the characters in here. You know, we don't have the rest of the straw. It's just Luffy and Zoro right now who are kind of going to be the most significant ones here. You know, we got these new characters with Okiko and Otama and Hold'em, and then building up the suspense of having these like kind of long existing characters potentially coming to conflict here with like Hawkins and Law. It's a lot going on. It's pretty tense. It may not feel like it from a far point, you know, but I feel like this is a hugely kind of like build up chapter to something. I don't think a huge conflict will happen, but the tension's there for one.
Right. Well, that is going to do it then for Weekly Manga Recap. So let's name our favorites this week. Favorite series and MVP, Chris.
I will give it to... I'll give it to Seven Deadly Sins. I like One Piece a lot, and I like actually Black Clover a good deal, and We Never Learned was great. But I think I'm gonna give it to Seven Deadly Sins as being the one that got me the most excited for something to happen. It was a pretty significant sort of change for King, so I'll give it to Seven Deadly Sins.
I'm going to agree with you. I really like the way the chapter played out, and it feels like this is a very big moment for his character. And they've tied a lot of stuff in with this male plot. Obviously, his backstory, his connection to Escanor, the stuff going on with Elizabeth, with the other angels, with Derriere, and now with and also with Galther, for that matter, and finally with King. So I really didn't see a lot of the stuff coming that ended up happening with it, because it just seemed like he was just this guy who looked like a giant muscly Meliodas, and all of a sudden we got all this stuff out of him that has tied into a bunch of other characters and had a big influence on them. So this has been a very good fight, and I really like this chapter.
Absolutely.
And my favorite character of the week, I'm going to give it to Fuego Leon. Just he didn't do anything, but he just showed up with a dragon on his arm.
He showed up, and that was enough. I'm going to give it to Bray Wyatt, so he can get one victory today. Now, I'll give it to Fuego Leon as well.
No, I've been pinned again.
I got pinned in the favorites of MPV section of Weekly Manga Recap. Didn't he recently lose to fucking his Bo Dallas and Michael McGillicuddy?
Curtis Axel, but yes.
Same person. He'll never stop being Michael McGillicuddy to me.
Yeah, he and Matt Hardy lost their Raw Tag Team Championships to literally guys who the joke was that they were garbage, but they kept on lucking into wins. And
poor Bray Wyatt.
There you go.
Good times.
That is going to do it for this week of Weekly Manga Recap. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We broadcast the show on smashcast.tv/RoloT and twitch.tv/RoloT, normally Thursdays at around 7:30-ish Eastern Standard Time. But in order to stay updated in case we need to change that stuff, and of course to find out when we're going to be recording all of our bonus stuff, you can follow us at WMR Podcast and at RoloT and at Nick F. Time. Be sure to check out our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube. Make sure to leave a comment and rating so that you can help out with the algorithms and help us stand at the top of the hobby section and defeat those bastard woodworkers. Be sure to send any feedback, ask us questions, suggest manga for us to read. You can send that stuff via email to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com. Also, join our Discord server where you can keep up with all sorts of stuff. There's an MHA RP section. There is, of course, just discussion of the current suggested series that we're reading through. And there is a entire dedicated channel to just making suggestions for us to check out. And that's a really good way to make your pitches on stuff that we can read.
There's also a wacky wrestling channel where you can go to discuss things like Bray Wyatt losing every single fucking feud he's in.
And then the people who do lose to him, and they seem like complete chumps. Anyway, special thanks go out to our Patreon supporters. Your support allows us to create all sorts of fun bonus content for you guys to enjoy. We do Q&A episodes. We do commentaries on Digimon episodes and anime movies. And we're going to be getting back into that stuff starting this weekend. So thank you guys for your support and your patience. And, of course, special thanks go out to Steve Mann, our title card artist, and to Infamous Planet for the stuff that you do. We could not make this show be the same without that help. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And that's going to do it.
Oh, this isn't like a joke to end on, but I keep forgetting I want to mention this to you. And I figure I mention it on air because it might be interesting to other people. So I watched a documentary recently on Netflix. It's called The Push. Have you ever heard of it?
Kind of.
So
not really.
It's like a psychological sort of experiment documentary. So there's that old the Menderlin or whatever, the old experiment where it's like two people on the other side is a person trying to get questions right, and every time he gets it wrong, the other person on the other side is supposed to shock them with increasingly high voltage. So it's similar. They reference that in this. It's similar to that. So the way it's supposed to work is it's this guy at like a charity fundraiser, and he's kind of like, he's supposed to be their network, and like the director of the charity is kind of showing him around, and the big benefactor shows up, and there's this older guy, and he tries to like smoke up on the roof, and they're telling him to get down. He's a little bit cantankerous, and at one point he gets really upset about something, and it looks like he has a heart attack and dies. And they're like, well, shit, we have to hide this guy's body. So the guy who's just their network is suddenly like kind of engrouped in this thing of like, why? Well, we can't hide the body. Let's call the police. They're like, no, if we do this, the charity's destroyed. This guy is the only thing that keeps this charity going. Help me hide the body. Help me put it inside this box. The auctioneer's here. He thinks you're the benefactor. Just pretend to be the benefactor. Go up on stage. And the whole thing is to see if they can get this guy to comply long enough to reach the end point where they're like, you have to push this guy off a building. You have to kill this guy. Like, and it's crazy watching this video because like they'll go through different things. Like, it looks like we got to pretend like he fell down the stairs. Kick the body a couple times. Put a couple bruises in it. We just need to make it look realistic. And it's crazy. It is one of the most insane things when you see the certain areas he'll go to and be like, I'm so far into this, I guess I'll start kicking this dead body or whatever. It's super interesting. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something kind of cool.
Oh, God, the torture they'll put some people through for the sake of social experiments. All right.
Yep. Anyways, that's it. Bye, everybody.
Bye!